Hello, I'm James Hier and welcome to Marketing Dividends, where we look at marketing's new and expanded contribution to company growth. I'm joined this week by Kevin Ramsdale, General Manager Consumer Marketing at NAB. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, James. Pleasure to be here.
Kevin, how is marketing contributing to growth at NAB?
Well, we've got a fundamental role to play actually to support the business. It really falls into a couple of categories, really understanding what consumers are looking for, what's happening in the marketplace and how NAB remains competitive, how it responds to those consumers' needs, and fundamentally it's about growth. That is really what our role is driving growth for the business.
Where did marketing used to be at NAB?
It's always had an important communications role to play, taking the story of the business to the market. I think really what's changed over the last 4 or 5 years is it's more of an advisory role. What is it the customers are looking for? How do we maintain competitiveness? And fundamentally, how are we going to deliver that? What has really also changed is delivering on a purpose. So now we fundamentally believe in doing the right thing and to deliver that purpose externally, but importantly to our people. You know, tens of thousands of people work at the organisation, and you want to make our people aware of what our purpose and what it's like to work at NAB, so they can make sure the service delivery to customers is very good.
If I can look at the trajectory of marketing at NAB in the near future, do you see any change within your team or your structure?
Clearly what marketers constantly have to do, because we're so close to the market, right? We're listening to what customers want, what is happening in the marketplace, and trying to help shape and deliver the business's strategy. So really marketers have to constantly be adapting. I don't think there's a fundamental change, but this constant adaptation to what is required now to deliver for the business and to deliver for customers.
With this change, do you feel marketing needs a rebrand, or is it clear it does what it says on the tin?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Look, rebrands are usually when something's lost its purpose or lost its way. So, you know, my view is delivery equals respect. It's about what the function does, not what it's called. So if it's delivering, you can call it what you like. But James, if you need help with the rebrand and we need to break up with marketing, well, happy to help.
Thinking about NAB in the last 12 months, is there something the business has thrown at marketing that they've expected you to resolve, which is not your normal communications remit?
What we're always accountable for, James, I think you can never lose sight of this as a marketer, is it is about competitiveness and growth. You know, fundamentally our remit is to deliver growth for the business. How do we maintain competitiveness? What is happening with consumers? What do they want? What are our competitors doing? You know, what do our people need to support them in helping engage with consumers? So the growth remit is always there, as it should be. So that's really the main focus, the main demand the business asks of us.
So what aspects of what marketing is doing do you think is helping contribute to the growth there?
Probably a couple of key ones, James. I think insight is a key part. You know, understanding what customers are looking for, staying close to the market, providing that insight into the business that helps shape products and services, and then really at the other aspect of marketing about delivering the communications and customer engagement. You know, we really have to stay at the leading edge of what is happening dynamically around digital and content delivery. So the communications remit's still there. It's just how you evolve and adapt it to a more fragmented environment. You know, the ability to constantly engage with consumers, particularly through digital, and using data to shape that insight about how you deliver help, guidance and advice to customers. That's really the main thing we have to stay, keep attuned to.
Kevin, you've mentioned brand purpose. How do you reconcile the role of brand purpose in business?
I think the important thing with brand purpose, James, is it's about you saying, how are we different? How are we going to compete? And being different and being competitive are fundamental drivers of growth. You know, so our view is our purpose around doing the right thing, about having a fair exchange of value with consumers, it is a growth-based purpose. So it's grounded in things of trust and integrity, but the role of marketing is to take that purpose to market to drive growth. So, you know, we take the view that if you've got a parity purpose, you're not going to drive above parity growth. So I actually don't see purpose and brand and growth as mutually exclusive. They're actually inextricably linked. The key issue is how much of your budget do you put behind purpose-based perception-changing activity, and how much you put in direct response demand conversion today.
I'm really clear about the empiricism of the numbers. There's a clear line of sight between what I've put in and what I'm delivering back to the business. What metrics are you putting in place that can balance that with a potentially skeptical board?
I'm very optimistic about it. I think it's actually a blessing that we can have such absolute clarity and use of empirical evidence. Like, it's never been a better time. I think good marketers are always very, very accountable. And what the data gives you is absolute clarity to support your accountability. So the key for me is, yes, we'll be very clear around cost per acquisition, what growth rates we're driving, conversion rates are, and very precise around dashboards we'll deliver to see how conversion metrics are happening, driving sales and driving contacts. We're also very clear at what traditionally would be called top of funnel activity to see how consumers perceiving NAB as different to the competition. And you know that if they don't, the demand generation activity in the long term is going to hinder you.
Boards are notoriously difficult to convince about long-term initiatives that don't show a short-term result. How do you demonstrate to the board that brand purpose is delivering short-term ROI?
I think fundamentally you have to deal with the fact that marketing is an investment. It's an investment in driving competition. It's investment in engaging with customers and understanding what they want and how you're going to deliver on the organisation's purpose. So really our purpose, again, around doing the right thing in a fair exchange of value with consumers operates at every level of the organisation. So we have really used that to drive growth, to have different products. And what we've seen is net acquisition volumes increase over the last 5 years, improvements in customer satisfaction over those 5 years. So it's actually quite a self-fulfilling, formula that purpose creates difference if your purpose is based on what consumers want and you're able to deliver it effectively through the marketing investment that you've got.
You've talked about the consistency of message, and I understand your brand purpose at the top of the funnel and your performance at the bottom. But performance is optimized against ROI, which means it can start straying away from what you're doing at the top of the funnel. How do you keep a coherent message in market where they have very different reasons for being?
We will constantly be looking at our investment allocation. How much is engaging with consumers now to talk about our products and services, particularly content-based activity that helps consumers use their product better to understand the key stages of their life. But also, again, we're very conscious that if you're not explaining how you are different, consumers won't want to stay with you. They won't want to use your products and services. And also importantly, with purpose, we're very clear about the role it plays to engage and enfranchise your people. The brand is the face of the people that deal with consumers, and a clarity of purpose is very important for the tens of thousands of people that work with NAB. So the important role it plays in internal communications and staff engagement is a key piece we also focus on.
Customer centricity is something that a lot of your peers are discussing, and you talked about your staff engagement. How is NAB dealing with the idea of the customer being at the heart of everything they do?
Again, I think some of these things you need to think about them in their simplest form. Is what you're doing delivering a benefit to customers? Is what you're doing based on insight from what customers want and need and are asking for? Now that could be at a point of sale, or it could be an information provision. So things we're doing around content, calculators around mortgages to help people with them, comparison tools to help them compare our products to competitors' products. That is really key, I think, to increasing customer engagement, is making sure the insight of customer feedback is delivered to product design, to service delivery, and yes, to communications, but the key is about responding to the needs in the products and services is the key part.
Consumers seem to be doing far more of the company's work than they were doing previously. People are using the expression, consumers are in the building, they're creating interfaces for themselves, they're filling out forms, booking rooms, checking in. How do you see this customer collaboration versus customer centricity?
Well, definitely collaboration is a more value-adding thing to be doing. Again, the key we focus on is what are the key points in the customer's life cycle where we can add value to that relationship. Product usage, better information about products, better information about helping to select the right product. Whether it be a customer taking out their first transaction account or their first mortgage, or somebody starting a business to growing a business. So something that's very clear at NAB is the engagement with customers is often a lifelong engagement. So we're very clear about those critical points in a customer's life cycle and making sure we're engaged around those. The key to engagement is listening first. So that's the thing we will focus on, is listening, understanding, using data to understand that, supporting our frontline bankers and our frontline staff to help with customers. But that's really the key to collaboration, we think, is the output of the centricity.
I've listened, Kevin, and what I pulled out is engagement, and it's one of the words that we've loved to use in marketing, and we've used it for a number of years, and it just feels like there's a definite split where engagement used to be just a normal communication interaction with a consumer. What you're talking about is a much more meaningful engagement, utility or service, and collaborating with the customer versus just a short-term communications engagement. How do you see engagement at NAB?
Communication is an always-on thing, but the key is engagement because it's a deeper connection. So again, what we will look for is where are the key points you can engage and how do you add value in that engagement? And the key part of that is what are the customer's needs? So I'm looking to shop a mortgage. I start with the house I'm interested in, and I'll come to NAB, or we will provide our content on various digital sites like calculators to help consumers understand, can I afford that house? What is the best rate? Should it be on a fixed rate or a principal and interest mortgage? So the collaboration piece is infused by data and digital, and that's clearly what we're seeing with digital and mobile, but particularly with our frontline staff, call centre staff, traditional branch staff, our business bankers. The fundamental to that collaboration is understanding what the customer is looking for. And it really is a genuine always-on engagement. And we particularly see that through digital.
The insights that you're working off now, how are they different to the insights we'd have had 5 or 10 years ago? Where are they coming from?
It's really the frequency of the information that you see, the depth of the data that you'll see at a depersonalised macro level, and also at a detailed level. So generally via digital engagement, you can see a lot of information, but also traditional listening to customers, not assuming, listening to customers. What are our frontline telling us? What are our internal people telling us that customers are looking for? So again, I think this conversation about data and data proliferation, it's nothing to be fearful of. It's actually a benefit. The key is how you can operate in that highly adaptive environment where you are very data rich, and not just adapt to it, but be very agile to act against it. Leading indicators versus lagging indicators. But ultimately, the key is not to get consumed in the data for data's sake. Actually, you get consumed in the data for customer's sake. That's absolutely the key. And providing that insight back into the business, so you're giving better benefits to customers.
This feels like a fracture in marketing. And you're talking about high frequency, high touch, lots of data on your end customer. But there's a whole part of marketing and categories like FMCG that don't have that volume, velocity and variety of data on each of their customers, and in the end they have no end-to-end relationship. Do you see service firms, telcos, financial marketing departments actually having a different route to market because of the data they now have on the end customer versus where we get marketing from, the traditional FMCGs?
I think the advantage in service-based marketing, in particular, you've got high frequency, high touch transactions. So in the case of internet banking, literally millions of logons a day. So you do naturally have a high frequency engagement product. I think the key here, like I mentioned before, is not to get consumed in that for the sake of it, but how are you using that to constantly remain competitive, to constantly deliver better value for customers. One of the benefits we've provided is a feature called Money Tracker on our website, where consumers can actually see where their spending is going, what they are spending on. So the proliferation of data has to be oriented towards customer benefit, no doubt about it. But the key is also, as I said before, remaining very purpose-led and how purpose drives differentiation.
How is marketing building credibility at a board level?
I think the best way to credibility is get outcomes, right? And we really probably generate those outcomes at two levels. One, delivering on purpose. The purpose is about more for customers, a fair exchange of value, being different and more competitive, particularly over the last 5 years. So constantly delivering that purpose externally to position NAB and engage with consumers, to engage our people in such a large organisation. And then at the secondary level, it's demand generation and growth, but a transparency about where the investment goes and what outcomes the investment generates. So we will be crystal clear about the sales we generate from the marketing investment. I take a sales target. I have a sales target. I'll talk to the guys running the various product streams of the business, and me and my guys will sign up to a sales target of their overall target for the year. And the reason we're able to do that is through the power of data and analytics. So particularly in these days with increasing rise of digital channels, whether it be tablet or mobile or desktop, if you think about those as a channel and this sort of always on nature of a brand these days, always present, providing customers information, that marketing actually is sales. You know, I think this sort of paradox of there being two separate divisions is a real legacy. Marketing is sales. We're allocated investment to get an outcome, to get growth. Whether that growth comes from customer engagement or satisfaction or particularly demand generation today, tomorrow. We need to be very clear about that.
We've talked a lot about the empiricism of data, but in the headlong rush to these outcomes, are we losing creativity in marketing?
No, absolutely not. You know, you have to remain creative. Creativity is about understanding what's happening in a marketplace, about listening and having a sense of curiosity to listen to what customers want. So you always have to be creative. You need to be creative to have your message cut through. My personal view is what creativity's now got is an ally in data. So it's about how you make both of those work together, not think one is the paradox of the other. So I think the minute you lose creativity, you lose your ability to differentiate. If you lose your ability to differentiate, you lose your ability to compete. If you lose your ability to compete, you don't grow. So fundamentally, you've got to have both working. It's about how they work together.
So with this increased swagger that marketing's getting in the boardroom, are you being bullied less?
I don't think we're ever bullied, but certainly we're very clear about what our role is. I think we're a highly accountable, group of people. We show how we support the business very clearly, and I think we're very much aligned to what our purpose is and the role we play.
So with the increased remit, marketing, sales, analytics, creativity, who on earth is going to fulfill that package? Who can you recruit?
Talent, absolutely key issue for us. The amount of time we spend on talent and development of our people is a significant investment. Why? Because we're directly linked to growth and competitiveness, so we have to do it. Probably what I'd say if I was, it's 20 years ago and I was starting out again, I think the key for market is get diversity. Increasingly marketing it has always been a very diverse profession captured in one term, marketing, but from insight development to creative execution to digital, it's a very diverse profession. So I'd really encourage people to get diversity of experience to learn those fundamental skills of the trade. But the key thing I think to pick up along the way is what makes good marketers different is good leadership. As we see fragmentation occurring, as we see this use of data and creativity as keeping customers front of mind and high accountability, it's a very high accountability function. The key is your leadership, I believe, and this sense of adaptive leadership, how you hold yourself in a dynamic environment. And it's one thing to be adaptive to understand. The key these days is agility to act against it. If you don't act, you don't get an outcome. You don't get an outcome, you don't get a return. You don't get a return, you don't grow. So
you get bullied in the boardroom.
And maybe end up getting bullied. But I think as long as you stay adaptive and agile, but that adaptability and agility is based on a fundamental understanding of the tools of the trade. It's like many other trades. You've got to understand the fundamentals about what drives marketing, but have that sense of leadership that lets you deal with the fact that not everything is done through you, it's done through others. And you need to trust and back people. And often those people aren't people that work in the building. They're with agency partners, they're with specialists you engage with. So I think, the leadership makes the difference, but the opportunity to lead comes from being good at what you do and ultimately delivering. You've got to deliver.
Thank you, Kevin.
Pleasure to be here, James. Thanks for the opportunity.
And thank you for joining us on Marketing Dividends.